Does anyone know where our chair is for this meeting?
Yep, it's 7 o'clock, isn't it? So right now, is it just, who's here besides Ed, Jay, Kevin, myself? Deb, can you see who else is here?
So Barbara's here,
There she is.
and I think Patty told me that she discussed with Kevin that Wayne had mentioned he may not be able to make this meeting due to traveling. I think that's what I heard earlier in the week. I'm not 100%, but
Well, it's not the first time that we've not been notified by the mayor that he's not coming to a meeting.
Kevin, you want to take over?
Okay, let's see, it is 7:02, and this is the special town council meeting, 25 May 2021. We have a quorum present of all members other than Mayor Bishop. So the first item we have on the agenda after call to order is approval of the agenda.
If there's no objection to the order,
I have a suggestion.
go ahead, please.
Go ahead.
Okay, there are a couple of items that may require executive session, and I respectfully suggest that they be moved toward the end of the meeting. And the other thing is that I'm going to suggest that item 2B be struck from the agenda because it seems like it's redundant to the actions that we've already taken. Doesn't seem like we need to discuss and take action on comment on the TDD.
I agree with you, Barbara, that B and C should be moved to the end. I disagree, and I think that we need to have a discussion about a response by the town council, presumably in support.
Well-
The letter actually calls for a response, Barbara. The letter's dated May 17th from the West Virginia Development Office, and it actually calls for a response either in support or opposition from the town. So,
The letter I saw is generic, and it's asking for a comment from the public.
The one to Bishop, that's the letter you need to see.
Okay, let's see if I can.
Bishop's letter is different.
You'll find that letter does require a response.
Yeah.
So does anyone else have any adjustments that they would request? Otherwise, I'm going to move to approve the agenda as,
You hold me like that. Thank you, Jay.
right, then I move that we approve the agenda with items 1B and C moved to follow 2D.
I second.
Okay, any further discussion on that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none. We'll move on to item number 1A, discussion and action on nominations to the tree committee.
Deb, is Tim Wisecarver in the waiting room?
no, he's not. I did send an invitation, but he's not in the waiting room.
Okay.
Let me check my email and just
Okay.
make sure he's not struggling. Hang on a second. Sometimes he'll email me if he's having a problem. I don't see anything. Sorry.
Yeah, and I know that he's out of town right now. I
Mhm.
wonder if he's having trouble.
Okay.
He may
I
not
mean, I
have
know
a-
it, I don't have, if we could possibly change to another, I can find the information, because I'm
I
the
can
vice
make the
chair.
motion. I can make
Huh?
the motion. I have it in front of me.
Oh, you do? Okay, because it's pretty straightforward.
Mhm. I'll just read, I'll just read real briefly as a backup that the Planning Commission at its April 20, 2021 regular meeting nominated and approved and recommends that the town council now approves the following appointments to the tree committee. There are actually 3 different appointments. Do I need to make these one at a time, Kevin?
No, you can, well, the nominations have to be separate. There's a different process for that than just a regular motion.
Okay.
So who are the 3?
The first nomination
recommendations.
is Christy Huddle. The second nomination is for Kevin Kosa. And the third nomination is for Jim Jenkins.
Do you want to mention, do we need to mention the period in which?
Yeah, I will. So do you want me to make individual nominations, Kevin?
Yeah, they have to be individual.
Okay.
Give me just a moment. I'm looking at something here. So
Jim
two of
Jenkins
those
is,
members,
okay.
two of those members currently serve on the tree committee, or currently did
Yes,
serve
they're
on the tree committee.
reappointment.
Right, their terms had expired already.
Uh,
We don't have a vacancy other than those two for reappointment,
Mhm.
correct?
Yes, Jim Jenkins is not, he's a planning commission member, but he's going to be the liaison between the planning commission and
Okay,
the
so he
tree
would be,
committee.
he would
Just
be
the
taking
liaison.
the place of Tim then.
That's presumed, liaison is a role for an elected official, yes?
No,
It's in
No,
on the tree committee, it's a member of the planning commission who serves
Ah.
as a liaison to the tree
Correct.
committee.
Sorry, my
Yes.
only experience of liaison is someone from the.
I'm
town
sorry, I may have
council.
used the wrong word.
okay.
Oh,
So the planning commission is recommending the nomination of Christy Huddle for a 2-year appointment ending December 2022 to the tree committee.
Do I need to second it?
Well,
No, well, you didn't make that in the form of a nomination. So are you nominating?
I am nominating Christy Huddle for reappointment to the tree committee for a 2-year term ending December 2022.
Okay.
Now somebody can second if they'd like.
I'll
There's
second.
no second.
No,
Nominations
sorry.
don't require a second.
we
All right,
just,
sorry,
we vote,
we just spoke,
don't we
Yes.
vote whether we accept that nomination or not?
correct.
Not exactly. After the nominations are concluded,
Okay,
then each member of the town council is called by name, and you announce of those three individuals, well, assuming that all three are going to be nominated, you announce by name which of the three you would like to see appointed to the tree committee.
okay.
Now, are we only appointing one, or are they all?
All.
Okay,
Because the second appointment, the second nomination is also a reappointment. I nominate Kevin Kosa for reappointment to the tree committee for a 2-year term ending December 2022.
Okay,
The last is I nominate Jim Jenkins to serve as the planning commission's voting representative to the tree committee for a 2-year term ending December 2022.
that one is a special case. They serve until they are no longer on the planning commission because they're the planning commission's representative. So
All right.
it's
Let's
their
modify it.
their term is the same as their term on the planning commission. You understand that, right?
Yeah, I motion that Jim Jenkins serve as the planning commission's voting representative to the tree committee for, period,
For the, yeah,
for the duration of his term.
for the duration of his
Right.
term on the planning
His
commission,
term.
right?
Mhm. Okay, there you have it.
Okay. Okay, so we have, there were 3 recommendations, 3 names, and all 3 have been nominated. So do we all understand the process at this point when we vote?
Does anyone
Think so.
not understand?
are we going to be voting on them one by one or as a?
No,
Okay,
when I announce your name, you specify which of those 3 individuals you wish to be nominated to the tree committee. They've already been nominated. Which of those 3 you vote to appoint to the tree committee?
okay.
So Barbara Humes.
I support Christy Huddle, Kevin Kosa to be reappointed, and Jim Jenkins. I support his representation, his planning commission voting representation for the duration of his term.
Right, thank you. Jay Premack.
I support the exact same appointments, Christy Huddle and Kevin Kosa. through December 2022, and Jim Jenkins for the duration of his tenure on the Planning Commission.
Christian Petroconis.
And I vote for Christy Huddle and Kevin Kosa for their term, this next term up to 2022. And I vote for Jim Jenkins through his term as on the Planning Commission to serve on voting member for the Planning Commission, for Tree Committee.
Nancy Case.
I support Christy Huddle and Kevin Kosa, both for reappointment to the Tree Committee ending December 2022, and Jim Jenkins to serve as the Planning Commission's voting representative to the Tree Committee.
Thank you. Ed Wheelis.
I support the reappointment of Christy Huddle and Kevin Kosa to the Tree Committee, as well as Jim Jenkins as the Planning Commission rep.
Thank you. And I vote to reappoint Christy Huddle and Kevin Kosa through 31 December 2022 to the Tree Committee, and Jim Jenkins as the Planning Commission representative on the Tree Committee for the duration of his term. So all three are appointed at this time.
Yay.
Okay, item number, we're moving on to item 1D. Discussion and action on appointment to the Street Sidewalk Restoration Committee.
Jay, you want to take the lead on that?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
brought this up, but I'd like Jay to fill in
Sure.
what we are doing.
Thank you. Christian has led an effort on focusing the efforts of the town, a group of committee rather, on addressing some issues with the safety of sidewalks and disrepair and restoration work. Following the last town council meeting, we went 1 month without having taken any action on the High Street improvement project. And during that meeting, I said I would reach out to some members of the community to see if I could get some interest. And I did. And that conversation was with Storm DiConstanzo. And we went into great detail about the variety of different issues that face the town, including the to be determined replacement of or installation of the storm dissipator. And we're waiting on the mayor to give us an update on that. The condition of the Washington Street surface water runoff, which is a nuisance and I think probably a safety issue. There are a host of other items that need to be looked at in a holistic way. That would also include signage, as we discussed in our last town council meeting, and meeting the state code or laws on posting things that can be enforced. The list goes on. And so the suggestion is coming out of the budget and finance meeting that preceded this, we met at 4 o'clock. My recommendation was, and we voted to forward this to town council, is to request the town approve the creation of, I have to look to the actual wording, but it's basically an infrastructure and capital improvement study group and committee that will subsume the role of the sidewalk restoration committee, and would ideally appoint Christian Petroconis and Storm DiConstanzo as the co-chairs to help the town look holistically at all of the things that it's trying to accomplish, that it needs to accomplish, which items might need to be addressed concurrently. Sidewalks and drainage, for example, would likely be impacted by one another. And so it's on topic here, but that's where we're at, and it may require, I believe it will require discussion and action at the upcoming town council meeting. I don't think we can do anything at this point, but I would request that rather than appointing a committee here, that we do that with this new study group and committee.
Are you sure that we can't
Can we?
take action on it? All we're doing, we're still appointing the committee. We're just modifying it to be a study and a committee, which is so commonsensical. You wouldn't just jump on a committee and do something without studying it first. So we're just modifying the name to include the word study.
Well, that makes sense. My suggestion is that rather than calling it the Washington Street Sidewalk Restoration Study Group and Committee, that it's the Harpers Ferry Infrastructure and Capital Improvement Study Group and Committee, and that contains the Washington the Street Sidewalk. But it's so important that we're looking at everything.
It's also it's also the stormwater.
Yeah.
So maybe it is a significant enough change, Kevin, that it has to go on the June 7th agenda, because it's incorporating more than sidewalk. It's definitely addressing stormwater management too.
Right, yeah, there's not enough clarity from the name here on the agenda, what's described on the agenda to encompass the full scope of what you're proposing there.
Kevin, in light of that, might I ask just for any input from the other town council members who were not in the meeting, specifically yourself, Ed and Barbara, if you have any questions about what we discussed? Are we able to it's in the context of the improvements to the sidewalk, but and if that's going out of bounds, I'm happy to wait until the next town council meeting.
My hands up. I understand that you, I understand how important it is to look at it holistically beyond just the sidewalks, but to look at everything else that may impact sidewalks in now and in the future. Since this item was about an appointment to the Washington Street Sidewalk Restoration Committee, are there, you mentioned Christian and Storm, are there other people who would be shouldering this study and be joining as a small group?
I think that would be left ideally to that group to.
We hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought
It's a big responsibility.
So,
I thought maybe there might have been some other names that were proffered for this discussion tonight.
None that
Yeah,
I've
and
heard
related-
yet, but go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
Go ahead.
interrupt you. Related to that, how many individuals do you see being appointed to this committee?
are you asking me, Kevin?
Yes,
I would recommend that start with the two co-chairs
right.
and allow them to convene meetings to be able to determine essentially, and Ed, I know your hand's up, so I'm sorry to jump in front. There's a lot of things that I think folks would like to see done, but the study group would look and capture input, I suppose, and sort of get a sense of what the needs are, and then approach it, I guess, kind of like you would a triage nurse or doctor, you know, what is going to bleed out first and what needs the attention first, and then also sort of cross-reference that with what can we afford to do, and then what do we need to do to accomplish these things in a timeline, and how do we start, you know, making sure that we've got monies put there, or what actions does the town need to take, such as applying for federal or state economic support, because there's a lot of money that's going to be available for infrastructure. I want to stop there and pass it to Ed.
Yeah, go ahead.
My only concern or consideration would be to decide whether the water plant and water and sewer lines are outside the scope of this group. Certainly there'd have to be coordination with the water department and the water commission, but it kind of overlaps the water commission's role. So perhaps
It's a good point.
include that.
I don't see that group getting involved in it, other than if there were to be a project to be undertaken, they would want to communicate with the other bodies that deal with infrastructure to make sure that there weren't any impacts or unexpected or unintended.
Yeah, or that they could coordinate their efforts.
Yeah, there will be some, I don't think Washington Street though, but there'll be some digging in the streets for replacement of certain water lines, certain places.
Sure.
So
Can I-
Sure.
Can I just
Sure.
clarify one more thing? The reason I reached out to Storm was that in his role as a chief financial officer in his day job, the planning function seemed like a really strong asset in terms of an ability. And he had already started doing some research on a number of these topics. Christian, I think, probably might know better, but
Oh, yeah, he has.
that the we have no lack of interest in doing great things here. It's just in this case, there's so much to do. He needs some guidance and expert insight in how to manage money and how to plan and how to prioritize. And I think that he brings that skill set, and that's why I had reached out to him initially to ask for assistance on the implementing the High Street action item plan that I had come up with, because it wasn't going to get done without some assistance. And this led to a larger conversation about infrastructure. And that's kind of how this all came to be, which is, and I spoke to Christian to make sure that he didn't feel like I was stepping on his toes and their toes in terms of the sidewalk group. I hope that that's helpful for more context.
Can I add, Barbara? Remember the waterworks when we had to get involved with the distribution for the next whatever decade or so,
yeah,
and
there's
they
a
put
lot.
together an Excel spreadsheet.
Mhm.
I really see that as a platform for us, or a similar effort to be done that way. It's going to be kind of listed and organized. Many people in town are very unhappy with the stormwater issue, and they've been told we're going to deal with it, or the state's going to do, or we're going to. We've never really helped them with any kind of concrete. This is what we're going to do. This is kind of what we're going to do it. This is where the budgets can come from. We just give them lip service, and I'm sorry, but that's not acceptable. And Washington Street's one, and Fillmore's another, and Cambridge has some issues there. And we just need to look at everything and kind of, like Jay's right. I was willing to give up the whole sidewalk thing just to put together a holistic plan. I like this concept where it's not locked in concrete, but it's going to be kind of a thing. And with approval of the town council, this is kind of how we're going to do things with the funds we have and resources. And I think all towns have something like this, some document that has it, and it's not comprehensive plan. We're talking about actually doing something. It's concrete things that have to be done in this town. That's all I have to say.
Kevin, to answer your question, I would encourage the studying committee to keep to 3 to 5 members. Keep it manageable and moving forward. But I think that would be ideal to have 3 to 5 members actively working on this study and committee.
Right. That's why I was asking. I was thinking either 3 or 5, but I didn't know if there was a thought about including more people with a broader range of experience or expertise that may be helpful. That's what I was really hoping to
Certainly
hear.
wouldn't hurt to have a representative or somebody from the Harpers Ferry Water Works or the Water Commission join.
I agree.
Yeah, well, kind of jumping out of turn here a little, but I think we're envisioning something that's going to do something. But first, we have to do a fairly quick study.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't want to be studying this for a year or two. This is something we need to do sooner than later. And I think smaller is better. The doing part is going to be hard. That's when I think we would expand the committee further when it comes to getting things,
Right.
done.
Just understand that if you're going to be applying for state funds, and I hope that you do, some of these recovery plans, the study is what's going to help you write your request for these funds. So it's important.
Yeah.
Okay,
Council-
Barbara's been waiting patiently with her
Okay,
hand
Barbara,
up,
sorry,
so.
we cut in.
A minor comment here. Any additional people to this study group would be appointed by the council, would be approved or appointed by the council?
Yes, of course.
And has Storm been approved or appointed?
No,
Well,
neither
we've been
have,
talking.
because we've changed we're going to save that, I think, on the 7th of June at our next
Right.
town council meeting. What Jay's probably going to do is motion to make Christian and Storm co-chairs of this study committee. And then as they get more people to join, they have to bring them before the town council for approval, just as any other committee would.
Okay,
Correct.
just wanted to make that clear.
Yes. Oh, we're not going to be autonomous.
So there's no action tonight, Kevin. I think
Nope.
if we're done discussing, you can probably move on to the next item.
Okay, sounds good. Next item is 2A, discussion and action regarding fiscal year 2022 waterworks budget.
So Bill's joining in. Let's give him a minute to get,
He's in as a panelist, but.
And this is one that Deb added later. If you wanted to see the spreadsheet, she's got a 3-page.
oh, yeah, I don't know if you saw that, but in the second time I sent you the Zoom invite, the spreadsheet, I noticed you only had 2 pages. You should have 3 pages.
Correct.
All right. Everybody ready?
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to ask you to think back a little bit in time to March 8, when we approved the bond, and we set up the first resolution for the water project, approving all the pre-construction costs, everything that happened prior to approving to the bond, the payments to GD&F and Bowles and Rice, and we also then distributed to ourselves payment for soft costs that we paid in advance, and that totaled amount of $253,950. And part of that exercise established that there were some critical distribution system items to which we would be using some of the soft cost, as well as the funds that would be taken from the existing operation and maintenance budget, which we're going to be getting ready to go over, that would be generated by the increase in the price for water to accomplish some of these critical needs. So just kind of hold that in your mind for a minute as we work through this. I'm going to just point out the highlights on the first page. The income side, you'll see on about 2/3 of the way down under the water bill payments, line 461, you've got your increase there that covers the price increase, bringing your water payment number up for a full year there. And then just above the last line that says total income, you have project soft cost reimbursement. So right here in this line, we're bringing in $35,000 of that $253,000 to cover some of the expenses and costs that we're going to get involved in on the next side of the expense area. So we can go now to page 2, and you'll notice, let's see, the third line down, line 334, new meter. One of the things that we're working on in the water department is new meter reading program that is probably going to be rather all encompassing and involve, a radio read and automation into our system to remove a lot of the human elements. It's become more than just buying simple cans of soup out of the grocery store. It's a pretty involved system and probably something that we'll be doing financing with over many years. And so in this line, I've allowed for $2,000 to $2,500 of a monthly payment that will work out. And it may go higher, may go lower, but it's a starting point in our budget to start working with the vendors on. And this is coming, I don't know, 2-3 months down the road, when you say, Bill, to start really having the council look into that.
Yeah, it's we've talked to two of the three vendors that we've identified so far as sort of the leaders in the industry, and the complexity of what's available technology wise, what they're able to offer, the kind of metrics and granularity and revenue recapture that they're able to afford us has very much changed how we've looked at this. And so we're in the process of developing a very complicated list of pros and cons that, for each of these vendors that we're going to break down and help us make a recommendation. So yeah, 2 to 3 months at least.
Yeah. Okay, so then the next thing to highlight is just 2 lines down from that 341.2 capital outlay auto. You see that's dropping just to accommodate for the loans that we have now. Just wanted to point out that has gone down. If you move down below maintenance of mains, about halfway down the sheet, 636 contracted services. This is where we're allowing for the replacement of the Elk Run line that goes across Bakerton Road. Right now where we are, I'm gonna drop this over to Bill again, but right now where we are, we've got an estimate for a slightly different location, which I'll let him explain, which is around $105,000. So I'm putting that in at 110 and a little extra for other contracted services we may need throughout the year for other things. And this will be going to bid. So Bill?
Right. So the original location on the plans provided by GD&F had the water mains relocated spot where it crosses Bakerton Road going through some pretty dense rock, which would have added a significant amount to the contract or to the cost of what we're going to have to spend now that we're doing it a la carte. So we got Chris Eckenrode back involved. We got Alvarez, the contractor working on the plant, involved, and then we've asked for sort of just a ballpark pricing and from a third vendor, and each of them picked a different spot down the road as to where they thought they should cross. We think that we have found a location that's sufficiently soft for us to get through without significant increased cost, and that will keep us within the already agreed upon easement area that we've worked out with the National Park Service. And this is important because that Park Service paperwork to allow us to do this on Park Service property, allows us within a very specific area. And if we venture outside that area, we're looking at another 9 months to a year of paperwork adventures with the Park Service to get this all reapproved through DC. And we don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. But we don't want to make any decisions based on, paperwork delays either. We don't want to compromise doing it the best way possible. And we've identified a way to do it right and avoid that problem. So this has been it's been quite an adventure, and we think we've nailed down the location. We've gone over it. We've got new drawings being prepared and that sort of thing. So we're about ready to drop a bid package for approval, so that we can advertise this thing and get somebody in there to drill under the road, so we can finally get this pipeline out of the Elks Run location where it is now.
Okay.
Good to hear.
All right, so moving down to line 427.3, you've got 2 lines there identified that were right there. Those are your bonds that are being paid out for the various loans that we have. So that's your, big number going back to the USDA. And then everything else is pretty routine, except on page 3, if you want to pop over there, about halfway down, we've got line 631.4, plant maintenance contract services. We're trying to address here, and it is still not firm, But we're allowing for about $50,000 potentially to clear out the backwash said basin. There are still many ideas formulating on this, so we do not know if this is going to be even close, up or down, but I've got to start somewhere. And this is something that's been left over from many years in the past of that said basin not being cleared out for various reasons. And we're, but it does need to be cleared out to change the intake valves in the base of each of the sides of that basin. So this is where we're just allowing some money there. Once we learn more about exactly what we want to do, we may need to make a revision, and we'll probably need to make more than one revision to this whole budget over the year, but we needed to pick a starting place. Anything else to add there, Bill?
Well, the said basin's like a 30-year problem in the making, probably.
Yeah.
We have been, and you're all probably familiar with this, we've been pumping it out and hauling it away in a relatively cost-effective way, but it's slow. And this is not something that we're not dealing with a standard, routine amount of sludge here. And because of the construction and the things that they need to do down there, we have to empty these things out and get them access. So our timetable has been sped up appreciably. And we're very thoroughly combing through ways to do that less expensively and more quickly. So it's an outstanding issue. We're hoping to get it in a way that will cost less than this, but we really don't have any control over having the need to have to remove it, in the next 4 months or so. But we saved a bunch of money on the sedimentation basin up the hill. So
Yes, we did.
we dodged the bullet with that. So we're staying on top of this project, both with the contractors and on the side that we're doing ourselves. We're very engaged on this from both a practical standpoint and a financial standpoint.
Bill?
Yeah.
Just for clarification, this is the basin that's on the Potomac side of the plant, Potomac River side?
Yes, there. It's actually two. There are two basins side by side.
Okay. So basically, you've got to empty it out, get to the bottom, and do something with valves.
That's correct.
So the basins will stay there. You just got to empty them.
Yes, they need refurbishment essentially,
Refurbishment.
and they need
So
to get to parts of it that are buried under, sludge that's been there since the Pleistocene era, and unfortunately, unlike the pre-processing sedimentation basin, the one that's up the hill behind behind the plant, that's just really nice, rich river silt or creek silt, but the stuff that's in those two post-processing pits has all the residue of the processing and producing water, and that we have to be very careful with how we dispose of it. So otherwise, we'd be hauling it across town or something, but we can't do that. So
I've heard you've had to bring it to Pennsylvania to a special place.
Yes, that was its own adventure, and now they sped the tape up on us, and we're having to do it in double quick time. So
I get it.
You're still taking it then?
Yeah, as far as we know. Yep. It's just a matter of it has to happen faster.
Yeah.
So.
Anyone want to offer a motion?
If there were no amendments, then I move to approve the fiscal year 2022 Harpers Ferry Waterworks budget as presented.
I second.
Okay, any further discussion on that?
I have one thing, Bill. I appreciate when you're talking about the solution to Elks Run not being driven by trying to avoid paperwork.
Yeah.
And I know it's difficult, but I'm hopeful you guys will find a solution that you're confident in, and it's not cutting any corners. I don't think that's the case, but
no, we've been able to. That was my priority, is that if we're not able to do it in the timetable that we feel like we need to, then we started a secondary process of researching possible ways to stabilize that particular pipe to buy us more time, knowing that we may not find a solution that we can get done in the time frame we'd like. So we sort of split the analysis into two paths so that, you know, ultimately we need to deliver the best product. And if we can do that in the time frame, great. But if it bumps up against the time frame is going to lose because we have to do it right.
Great. Well, thank you for offering really comforting leadership.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the fiscal year 2022 water works budget as presented. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor,
Aye.
say aye.
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 All
Aye.
opposed? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
All right. All righty.
Okay. Item 2B, discussion and action on responding to West Virginia Development Office's request for comment on TDD application submitted by Swan Hilltop House Hotel LLC. Who would like to take the lead on that?
Well, Christian is actually, both the letter to West Virginians and certainly the letter to the mayor does request a position statement from the town.
I've
And
sent copies to
Christian has-
everybody of one.
yes, if everybody has a moment to open your email and look at the letter that Christian
When
has
did you send
drafted.
it, Christian? Because I haven't seen anything to that.
Since it's 7 p.m., it came just as we were coming into our meeting.
Ken Sayers in the waiting room, Deb.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I could send it to him too.
Let me get him. No, yep. I forgot that was his item. He's coming in. All right.
I gotta turn. Okay.
Thank you for joining us, Mr. Sayer.
Good evening.
Are you getting ready for your Santa season? Is this a beard?
Yes, I'm a contrarian. I grow my beard in the summer. I have to be clean shaven for December.
Weird.
Mother Ginger doesn't have a beard.
We are just now reading a letter that Christian Pechakonis took the opportunity to draft in response to the request for a position statement. Do you have an opportunity to take a look at that, Mr. Sayer?
I don't think I got anything from Christian.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just sent it. So
Okay.
There's a
Oh,
spelling error, I see.
well, you can do all that stuff. Yes, please. Do all the wordsmiths.
okay.
On
It was
the,
attached. Nancy, did you attach it to your email? Is that what we're looking at?
Yes, and Christian
Okay.
sent it too.
Yeah.
I sent it.
on the fifth bullet point, the word terrace.
Okay, hang on. Oops. But
Terrence.
It says Terrence with a capital T. It should be lowercase t and no n.
oh my gosh, you guys are just something.
Okay. Also in the second paragraph, while Mr. Sayer's reading, in the second paragraph, I see a minor typo as well.
Okay.
The-
This was a working document, so I
Okay,
didn't.
This, and I appreciate that you took the effort to do this. The second paragraph, the third sentence starts with recognize that a business's profitability is most critical for it, is probably just is most critical for it to survive. I think you can get rid of the word a.
Okay.
and I have one, the first bullet implies that they're eliminating the event lawn. I don't think that's the case. They're eliminating the underground meeting rooms.
Under
beneath
the event one.
Mm.
Okay, so it should be event lawn. Underground.
Eliminating the
meeting
underground meeting rooms beneath the event
beneath
lawn.
the event lawn. Okay.
Mhm.
Am I doing all this?
Yes, yes.
Oh my gosh, I'm
I mean,
behind. Okay,
I can do it too. It's not a problem. I'm doing it right now.
you do it. Yeah, my wordsmith is Lynn. She looked it over real quick, one pass.
On the last bullet point, the word complement in that context should be COMPLEMENT.
Let me go back to Kevin's first one. Oh, Terrence. Say the one again, Kevin.
On the last bullet point there, the word complement,
Is it E?
yeah, it should be
Mhm.
EMENT.
Okay. Jay, Barbara, or Mr. Sayer? I wasn't even sure what they were asking in terms of a position statement. In your opinion, Mr. Sayer, does this fit the bill?
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think that it was more, I feel like the department sent it out to the town to allow us, if we wanted to express some opposition. Quite frankly, I think they'll be pleasantly surprised to see that we are preparing a letter that says that we're supporting the project. I think because, you know, the history of the TDD and the bill, but I think that the letter is a good letter to show that we're supporting this project, and we'd like to see this project go forward because it's going to be in the best interest of the town.
The only thing that I would like to see added, and I don't know how to say it, maybe you can say it, is I actually welcome the oversight
Yes, I like that.
of the, no, you're making a
Well,
face.
no. I think that's fine. I mean, you know, I'm a city guy. I like cities, and I like local government being able to control in general what happens in local government. And I understand the whole history of what's happened here, but you know, I'm not necessarily sure and this is my personal opinion.
Mhm.
I'm not sure that we you know necessarily should say that we like the state coming in and overseeing this. I think we should, you know, we support the project, and it's a great project, and we look forward to this project coming to fruition. And that's just my personal opinion. I like local people having local control.
I agree
I
with you.
agree with what, sorry, Barbara. I agree with what Ken said, and I think that we can add a line along the lines of, you know, something about how, well, the town, you know, has some apprehension about the state running the project. It looks forward to, you know, open communication and dialogue with the town as the project is
Okay.
managed, or something along those lines, because I do think I don't think anyone really loves the idea that the state's going to come in and run the project, but it's happening. But
Yeah, and let me just explain my statement, if I may. And that is, at some point, I believe it was the first part of April, our Board of Zoning Appeals held a hearing to issue a permit to demo, and the permit's not been issued. It's May 25th. So that's why I was saying I welcome the oversight, but I also get what you're saying, and we should curtail that enthusiasm. I'm not necessarily enthusiastic for the oversight. So,
Nancy, you're saying that the Board of Zoning Appeals hasn't issued the demo permit?
nope.
Well,
I
the
believe that's
permit
true.
was not complete, as I understand it. There was a problem.
No.
It was issued with conditions. It was to be issued with conditions, and I'm not going to say who dropped the ball, but somebody dropped the ball, did not communicate that to the ordinance compliance officer, and the permit itself has never been issued. So I like what Jay has said. It actually is more representative of how I feel. But I guess I'm just frustrated, and as you are shocked, I'm frustrated that we don't seem to have the ability to provide our own oversight. So is that something that you can tweak, Jay, and put in there? I've tweaked it thus far. Or you want to just read it and say it again?
I'd have to go back to the record of what I said because it's come and gone. But thankfully we have it recorded on YouTube. So I can go-
Councilmember Wheelis has his hand up.
I just want to express that I have some heartburn about the bullet 5. I agree with the gist of the letter. I'm not enthusiastic about the glass rooftop because it's visible at a distance, and I can see it glowing at night like a spaceship on top of this building. I think they've made a great effort to, create this historic ambiance, and I think that as rendered in the artist's rendering, I think it doesn't work. So I don't know how others feel about that, but I do support the letter in general.
Councilmember Humes has her hand up.
The bullet about expanding parking in the Outfitter building's footprint with visual screening is, so that will be surface parking?
Yes.
It reads to me that it's you know how they wanted to put parking on the lot next to the Bishops, and we said no, not so. They wanted to do that for handicapped accessibility. I believe, based on what I'm reading, and that's where they've moved that to. They've said, okay, where the Outfitter building is behind a screen, probably a living screen.
So that's going to be
Surface parking for handicap.
at grade.
Yeah.
And it could be temporary according to the Outfitters building.
Yeah.
According to this, they may very well build it later.
And what does the HG under sincerely mean?
I think that that's going to go away.
Okay.
That's where I would sign it.
Yeah.
How will
Yes.
it be signed then? Will it be
Kevin Carden.
just by Kevin? Or
Yes. The mayor's not here tonight.
Upon approval of the town council, if that's your pleasure. Sure.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And on town letterhead as well.
Could be the individual names?
How should we close that, Mr. Sayer?
I think if all the councilmen or councilors are wanting to sign, they should all have their names printed in a signature line form.
Okay.
It's going to take longer to get all those signatures though.
It's really inconsistent with anything we typically do as a
True.
council. It does a body and it's signed, pro forma by either the recorder or the mayor.
We have to have it in by the 31st.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily add or subtract. That, I've seen letters that way from other county commissions typically will have all the members sign, but that's also because county commissions don't typically have a mayor or a presiding officer.
I see.
I'm not willing to sign unless I know exactly how this letter is going to read and that there's going to be a strong statement that we had just been talking about our concern about losing oversight of a project
And I'll wait for Kevin to sign it.
All right. So I've just made the changes that we've discussed. That's all. I have not added Jay's thought and Jay's statement, which I think is good.
I have to go back, like I said.
I don't know that it was expressing concern of losing oversight. It was talking more about looking forward to working with them.
I'm trying to offer a relatively balanced comment, which is, I think Nancy put it well, is this is not a overzealous, excited, like, yeah, we're so happy. It's just this is what it is, I don't think the town would have.
Well, every paragraph says how pleased we are and that we're, excited about all this. I mean, there's a lot of it that's,
Barbara, that's why I again tried to temper that portion by,
are we going to be doing it tonight and getting a final copy tonight? Are we going to spend the next 45 minutes trying to get this wordsmithed, or could we?
I think we should do it, and let me tell you why. It's due May 31st, and we're not meeting again between now and May 31st.
Correct.
Yeah, and May 31st is Memorial Day, so
Right,
the
we
last
need it
day
out
to
Friday.
get it sent out in the mail would be Saturday.
Yeah.
Our last day of business before then, of course, is Friday.
I'm going to
I
mute
think
myself.
Friday's the deadline. Unless you want to
Um,
email it.
I think it should say something at some point in here about the town council supporting this, or some way stating that the town council has voted on this and approved the letter, or this is the sentiment of the council, something like that. Because otherwise there may be there could be quite a few questions. One would be, why is the recorder signing this?
I
You
just
could say
started the
Kevin
last.
Cardin, recorder / mayor pro tem.
I just started this last sentence with the town council of the Corporation of Harpers Ferry feels that the revised 2018 concept plan maintains the principal tenets of the Harpers Ferry Street Agreement approved on April 5, 2021. Therefore, we support the Tourism Development District application submitted by Salon. The town council, now I want to go on with the town council is looking forward to.
The majority does.
And that's what a town council democracy does, is it
Mhm.
votes as a majority what to say.
Right.
So the town I'm looking for help with Jay's sentence. The town council is looking forward to working with.
I have to go back to what's on YouTube. It's not off the top of my head, so.
Well, then go do it or create it anew. There were two oppositions, one to the glass rooftop and the other, I don't know that expanded parking at the Outfitters building was really an opposition or if it was more just a clarification. My question is are we eliminating those bullets? Or are we just discussing
eliminate it.
bullets?
And
Well, the thing is, this is what that was in their document. That's why I
get it.
used it. And also, it's, maybe we could, I don't know. It's, we're approving their TDD plan. This application fits our street agreement. It really does.
Okay, so are we leaving the bullets alone is my question.
I'd leave it.
I don't know. I share Ed's concern about the enclosed glass, and we're flying blind with what the expanded parking at the Outfitter footprint really means and really looks. And this seems to me like we're rushing this letter.
If I might suggest, I mean, the bullet points are not the main part of the letter. The main part of the letter is that we're letting Hilltop, the Swan folks know, and we're letting the state know that we're excited about the project, that we're in support of the project, and that we're not opposing the TTD application or TDD application.
Okay.
So, if there's some heartburn over a couple of the bullet points, then, the elimination of those bullet points, I don't think are going to lessen our support of the project.
I agree.
Why don't we-
Right.
And just make it a short and sweet, short letter. And I'm concerned about the pointing of fingers about past Hilltop House owners did not run viable businesses.
That's an obvious thing.
Yeah.
They ran out of money.
Yeah, I don't think saying that the prior owners did not run. I agree with Christian. It's pretty clear.
But do we
Yeah.
have to say this in a letter? What good does it
It's,
do? to
it-
say it?
it's saying that we need a profitable hotel. That's what we're saying.
But
You
That-
always said you wanted a profitable hotel. You know what happens when it's not
I'm
profitable.
not arguing that I'm not arguing that. What I'm arguing is that we're pointing fingers at past property owners. We're putting an opinion in that they didn't run a viable business.
It was a dump.
It's a pretty universal opinion, though.
Yes.
And that
Do we-
point
It's so
stresses the need to support a viable business there
Yes.
for the reasons that there were not viable businesses there before that were able to maintain the building properly.
Yeah, but why can't we just, if we're going to talk about this here and try to do it, why not stop at the sentence that ends up, we recognize, the Corporation of Harper's Ferry recognizes that a business's profitability is the most critical for it to survive and thrive in the long-term period, and the rest of it doesn't have to be there.
I
They
have a
didn't pay
suggestion
taxes.
that's a
They
little
ran the
different.
building down.
Can you
All
hear
right,
me?
one at a time.
I agree that happened, but do we have to put that in the letter? That's outside of the scope of this.
Maybe, but it's the truth.
Okay,
Well-
I want to offer a different perspective or just a different way to frame this, because I got up this morning before work and wrote some notes down, but I wrote down basically that realizing a revitalized Hilltop House Hotel that carries a grandeur of the hotel built by Thomas Lovett, which unfortunately fell into sad state of disrepair under its previous owner. It fell into disrepair. It turned into a dump because it wasn't well taken care of. That was, you could say it more diplomatically, that it fell into disrepair under its previous owner, and you don't have to get into the business of it, but it's undeniable that the hotel fell into disrepair.
You could just say the inability of the previous owner, which doesn't sound like you're really pointing fingers at some fault that they had. They just weren't able to do it for whatever reason that's unspecified.
Nancy, I did go in and transcribe what I said from the YouTube. It was listening to two conversations simultaneously, so it took a minute.
All right, read it to me.
But what I had said, and it may need a little tweaking, is the town has some apprehension about the state running the project. However, it
Whoa,
looks
whoa,
far-
whoa, whoa, whoa. The town has some apprehension about the state running project. Yep,
However, comma, looks forward to open communication and dialogue as the project is managed, or something along those lines, or as the project
progresses.
Progresses. Yeah.
progresses.
All right, so I think who's running the project? Is it the state or the West Virginia Development Office?
Which is part of the state.
So, okay, the town has some apprehension about the state running the Hilltop Hotel project. However, running the project, providing over, okay.
Providing
Uh,
oversight,
um,
yeah, that's
Overseeing.
Having full oversight authority of the Hilltop House project. However, looks forward to open communication and dialogue with the West Virginia Development Office as the project progresses. Does that work?
yeah, that's the spirit of what I was trying to capture.
I have another suggestion.
Okay, go ahead.
Whenever you're ready for it. The last sentence before we move into the bullet points, there was some disagreement about a couple of the bullet points. So I would say that maybe we should say we affirm the critical nature of changes or refinements of the 2018 concept plan, comma, including And then
I eliminated
we
those
could
two.
remove certain bullet points.
I eliminated those two and just left 5. That's good. We affirm the critical nature of changes and refinements of the 2018 concept, including, I lived those 5.
Yeah.
And then the last sentence still reads, the town council of the Corporation of Harbor Strategy feels that the revised concept plan maintains the principal tenets. And we support the tourism development district application submitted by Swan.
Aren't you going to keep the tenets of the Harpers Ferry Street
Yeah,
agreement?
yeah, I'm just shortening it. I kept the whole thing. The town has some apprehension about the state having full oversight authority of the Hilltop House Hotel project. However, looks forward to open communication and dialogue with the West Virginia Development Office as the project progresses.
I like that.
However,
I think-
we look forward to.
Say it so I can hear it.
However, comma, we look forward to.
We look forward to open communication with the West Virginia Development Authority.
And Mr.
Okay.
Sarah has something to say.
No,
Yep.
I was giving the thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Oh,
No, I think the tenor of the letter is appropriate, that we're supportive of the project. We're excited for the project. We think it's a good project for the town. We're not overly thrilled with the fact that the state has taken over this project, but we're looking forward to working with the state. I think that has a good sound to it. I think it's the best that we have right now. I mean, we have this district overlay. There's nothing we can do to stop it. I looked through the statute this morning, and the criteria for approval of the TDD, they pretty much, they wrote the bill so that they would comply with the bill to get the district. So there's, we could hate the district all we want. We're not going to stop it. I think that the letter is very appropriate and would be a good response to show that we're in support of this project.
Could I just add to that? I'm glad you looked at it again, the Tourism Development Act again, Ken, because what you said about us not being able to do anything about it is because we sold them the streets. The bill required them, as they wrote it, and they wrote it, the bill required them to own all the property within the Tourism Development District. We sold them the streets. We now sleep in the bed that we made.
Barbara, I'd invite you to write a letter of your own volition. and
You didn't approve it.
to them.
Oh, I know, I'm a citizen.
Well, Barbara, I actually don't necessarily agree with that interpretation of saying that they have to own the right of ways within the district. They talk about the West Virginia Department of Transportation and their right of ways and stuff. Well, they wouldn't have owned the right of ways at the Department of Transportation. So I don't think that the transaction of the right of ways was the linchpin of them getting the TDD. I think they were able to get the TDD even if we had not struck a bargain with them on these right of ways.
The right of ways was more for their financing than it was for the TDD.
Yeah,
that's right.
and
TDD says the applicant shall own or control all real property within the proposed tourism development district. And that was their intention, and that's what we did, gave it to them.
Oh, we
And
can
it's
give
not-
it,
and it's
went through
You got concession.
hundreds of hours of negotiations. Nancy
Yes.
just sent the letter. Can you all review it so we can either up or down vote to approve it and move on? I don't know about you guys. I'd like to efficiently get through the rest of our agenda.
Yep. Please take another look at it if you don't mind.
Where can we see it?
I just
Okay,
emailed it to you.
Emailed to you.
Okay, I'm gonna watch it. Okay. Okay, there it is.
I haven't been able to open it yet.
You know, are they called the Swan Hilltop House LLC?
I went by her signature line. She used,
Okay.
Karen, I mean, it's the first time I've seen it like that.
Yeah.
Okay,
I remember seeing that before. Yeah.
I mean, I read through the whole agreement, all 20 zillion pages.
Okay, I'm just now getting it open. It's going to take me a second here to review it.
The comma before the word however should be a semicolon.
at the end.
Oh, at the end. Oh.
The
All
I
right.
really think the
sentence,
sentence in the second paragraph that has to do with the past Hilltop hotel owners did not run, it's a non sequitur. And it
All right.
doesn't
You know what, take it out.
take it out, yeah.
No, we do, Barb, we listen to you all the time and all these things, and you're not right on this issue. It was.
Question, I am right
more
on
than
this.
one.
I am
No.
right on this because we're pointing fingers without, and
They
it's,
ran the place into the ground. They owed us taxes. That's a fact.
it is a fact, but it doesn't have to be put here.
It supports my argument why it needs to be profitable and why they need to make the
Isn't
change.
that a
Yeah,
fact?
I agree with that.
All right, consensus up or down, leave it in or take it out.
Leave
Say
it in.
leave it
Up or
in.
down.
Take it out.
Jay,
Non sequitur. I'm not signing this.
Jay,
No, I would like to leave it in, but I'd like to strike the first sentence in the second paragraph. I don't feel like building materials really has any impact whatsoever on the TDD.
That's
This is one of the reasons why they're reducing the hotel size.
Well, I don't know that's a fact, but
Well, I talked to, well,
I just, material costs are at a point where they are now. It's a market. They're going to change. I don't really feel like that has an impact on approving, supporting or not supporting the TDD. The fact that it costs more money to build has absolutely zero impact whatsoever on my support of this application.
I agree, but it also explains why they had to make these changes.
I'm not looking to explain for them. They can explain for themselves. It's just, to me, it's not germane to the town offering
Okay,
support.
I could see that, sure.
I humbly disagree with the portion about the property being neglected.
now I've taken out the first sentence and second sentence, and we pretty much are just saying we affirm
Let's leave the
critical
last
nature-
paragraph and that's it.
Am I right?
First sentence.
I'm
second
sticking
paragraph.
to the second sentence.
It
One
starts
person
with-
at a time. One
the
person at a
sentence
time.
The sentence that I would like to strike starts with, "We understand that the long delay
Right,
on these post-pandemic times."
I got it. And Barbara wants to cut out the second sentence. So that means the second paragraph
Okay.
starts with, we affirm the critical nature of changes and refinements in the 2018 concept plan, including.
No, I want to strike the third sentence that starts with some past Hilltop House hotel owners, snark, did not run viable businesses, leading to the neglect of their property and inability to pay taxes. It's a non sequitur.
But it's a fact.
It
All
may be
right,
a fact,
All
but
right, move on. We don't really.
Well,
care.
yeah, I tell
Make a
you what,
decision.
if you remove the first sentence, then I can see removing the third sentence, but if one is there, the other should be there, in my opinion. So are we removing both of them then?
I am, because I'm getting over this, because
Sure.
I have
Go
a
ahead.
lot.
I don't care.
Okay.
Barb, you win.
This is how the second paragraph
you
would
don't
read.
You better sign this
This is how
thing
the
though.
second paragraph reads. Swan and the Corporation of Harpers Ferry recognize that a business's profitability is most critical for it to survive and thrive in the long term. We affirm the critical nature of changes and refinements of the 2018 concept plan, including blah, 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 blah. We
Right.
are pleased to see Swan plans to complete the Promontory Overlook Trail prior to the opening of the hotel. Residents and visitors will be excited to visit the Overlook again. The Town Council of the Corporation of Harpers Ferry feels that the revised 2018 concept plan maintains the principal tenets of the Harpers Ferry Street Agreement approved on April 5, 2021. Therefore, we support the Tourism Development District application submitted by Swan. The town has some apprehension about the state having full authority Oversight Authority of the Hilltop House Hotel project. However, we look forward to open communication and dialogue with the West Virginia Development Office as the project progresses. Can we vote on that?
Sure.
Mr. Sayer?
Yes.
For
Kevin?
for the closing line, so that we don't have to get all the town council members to come sign this, because that's going to be timely and cumbersome.
I just
And
have
there's a
your
time
name, Kevin
constraint.
Hart.
Can it say Kevin Carden, recorder, on behalf of the town council of the Corporation of Harpers Ferry? Could we agree to that?
Yes.
Can it be all of us tonight?
No, we're not all gonna sign it. Let's just have Kevin sign it and the
On
council.
our behalf.
Right.
Behalf of the council.
Good
Okay.
with that.
I mean, we could have the mayor sign it, but he's not here, so that's not gonna happen.
Right.
Okay, so
Send it to you one more time.
is there any, okay.
Did you send it?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Gotta go to outer space and back
Trouble
there.
opening the last one, so I just wondered if you've gotten it yet.
Christian, while we're waiting for this to arrive, Nancy mentioned, I believe Nancy mentioned, but thank you for drafting something for us to work
Yes.
from. I tried to get
Indeed.
going early this morning, but I really couldn't get nearly as far as you did, so.
And I
Thank
barely
you so
got
much.
this done. Sorry. I did the best I could. Thank you.
It's great.
It's always easy to edit and chew over a draft than it is to draft it. So you did the
Mhm.
hardest work, Christian.
Thank you.
Definitely true.
We just have to respond, honestly. We have to respond. We don't have an option, really.
Kevin, just a procedural question. While we're waiting for this email to come in, mightn't we advance to C and then come back after? I don't know how long we're gonna wait for.
Coming in. Coming to you now.
By the way, I took the name that was on the letter, but the
Mhm.
email had a different name in the, so,
I think that Mr. Graney guy, that's a name that Granny or Granny, that's a name I recognize. I think it's Granny.
okay. I just want to make
It's
sure.
great.
Is a salutation, Mr. Mark?
Yeah, check that.
Good point.
They use Honorable Mayor Bishop on the letter to him. I don't know how you do it to the deputy cabinet secretary.
Yeah, it should be Mr.
Mr. Okay.
Yeah, he's not the excellency like the governor is.
Good one.
Okay.
And then it should say Dear Mr. Granny instead of Dear Michael R. Granny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kevin, you can change that when you put it on the letter.
Yeah.
Okay, so has everybody had a chance to open it and look at it?
I'm
In a minute.
looking at it right now. I'm just giving you a couple more seconds.
I'm good with this.
Yeah, with the change of the honorarium, I'm good.
So when is the town going to start going back to in-person meetings?
Well, June 14th, we have a Board of Canvassers meeting that has to be conducted in person.
And then after that, it'll be up to the new mayor.
It's his call, right?
Well, I guess the governor's order basically ends the mask mandates on the 19th.
20th, West Virginia Day.
Yes, West Virginia Day, or some people are referring to it as Freedom Day. Yes. So the 20th is no longer required to have a mask. I know that the city of Martinsburg is reopening City Hall as of June 1st.
Does that mean no requirements to wear a mask in
Folks,
public
this
places?
is a good conversation, but really has nothing to do with what we're here to do. I'd like to move that we approve the letter as presented by Nancy Case with the revision of the honorarium of Mr., replacing the first name and middle initial.
I second.
Okay, is there any further discussion on this letter? Okay, hearing
Can I
none.
just ask, is this going to be a hard copy letter and then you're going to mail it? Is that there are instructions in the mayor's letter
Mhm.
that says priority mail and whatever.
Kevin, might I add a suggestion, which is to send it a hard copy and reference that it's also sent electronically.
Yes, via email and US
Okay,
Postal
good.
Service. I'll
make
add that before I,
Certified mail
Alright.
return if you do post office. Certified mail.
okay.
There were instructions.
Yeah, there
Right.
were.
Did we finish the vote?
Not yet. I asked for any further discussion and there was further discussion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So is there any further discussion from this point? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
Thanks again, Christian.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Moving on to
And-
the,
Thank you, Mr. Sayer. I don't know if you feel like hanging out, but thank you for joining us for this mayhem.
Well,
Thank you
I
so
will talk to you all later. My mom is calling me on the phone, so I
Oh.
need to talk to her. So.
Priorities.
Y'all
got to
take
take that
care.
call.
Thank
Good
you.
night. Thank you.
All right.
Good night. Okay, next item is discussion and action on letter to EPA in support of Jefferson County Foundation.
Okay, I'll speak to that. The Jefferson County Foundation wrote us all a letter asking for us to support their efforts, their letter to the EPA, asking that there be a stop work order put on Rockwool until they can address a change in fuel for their one of their burners. They slipped in a change in fuel from coal to propane, I believe, but they didn't update their
That's better.
clean air filter. Yeah, it should be, but
Yeah.
they didn't. But that emits a different type of toxins in the exhaust, and they did not update their remediation for the toxins that are released. They have pollution control measures that are in place, and those were not updated based on the change in fuel. And so it's, I don't hold any illusion that they're stopping Rockwool. It's just to make sure they do the right thing. So a draft letter was provided. It's being requested to be sent by email. And I'll leave it to the council to decide whether they feel in support, they can support that or not.
I don't think I know enough.
Well, I've heard enough about the trials and tribulations that we've had with Rockwool and the difficulty we've had getting data on monitoring their clean air, clean water. So when I think it's very important that there's always eyes on this project and to prevent any kind of untoward failure to occur. And I'm in support of this letter.
Is there a motion?
I'll move to authorize the mayor or recorder to sign and submit a letter to the EPA in support of the Jefferson County Foundation.
I second.
Okay, in just a moment. Okay, any further discussion?
Yeah, the letter reads, it seems that the West Virginia Department neither required or performed any analysis of the continued validity.
But it checked it.
Did they, or does it seem? It also says now we're concerned that the emission limits do not meet the requirements. I guess my comment would be, I hesitate to endorse something that stops construction on a project that's within 30 days of opening because it seems or because we're concerned, yet they haven't done anything that's in violation in terms of emissions. So I guess that's my only comment.
Well, they will be violating.
You don't know that. You know that their emissions are gonna, you know that they've gone from coal to gas, which is purportedly better. Everybody has agreed to that.
But-
And you're saying they're gonna be violating, but you don't even know that their emissions are
And
gonna violate?
described that they are remiss in updating their plans for having supplemented or to put in this different kind of
Was
energy.
it required? It says it seems that the West Virginia Department neither required nor performed. Was it required, or does it seem like it wasn't required? Which one is it? So again, I've stated my position based upon assumptions, but you can hold your own. I mean, that's what we're here to do.
I got booted. I'm not sure why, but I was going to speak to something Christian mentioned about not sort of, I think I heard you mention sort of not being completely up to speed. No matter what, the emissions from this plant are of concern to our town and our community specifically. And the one way that I think none of us can ignore is our water source, our surface water source, Elk Run, just the potential for particulate matter and all those things. So I would almost encourage that we might actually write a very, very short letter that's coming from the town, that's not created by someone else, that says the town of Harpers Ferry has concerns for the sake of our safety of our water that we take from the surface that could be potentially impacted by, I don't know, environmental practices that could potentially lead to public health issues. Something like that's very specific to at least one issue that is paramount in a direct way that every single person who drinks water in Harpers Ferry and Bolivar and in our service area. I don't know.
Yeah, I can go along with that. Yeah.
Are you gonna have Mayor Bishop sign that?
Don't know where he is, so
You won't.
might have the reporter sign it.
I have
Should be
a
very- should
feeling
be
he's
very
not going to
helpful.
be signing anything else for the town council.
Yeah. And I actually historically am aware that Mayor Bishop actually applied for work with Roxel in 2017 and then put a no rock wool sign in his front yard for 2 years.
Well, I
I just thought it'd be interesting if he was gonna sign that letter.
does anyone object to taking a streamlined approach to a letter that just speaks to one topic? Ed, I mean, you brought this forward, so I want to be respectful of what you offered, because that's completely a left-hand turn.
That's fine, but I think again, like the last letter, today's probably our only chance to weigh in.
Also, this letter has a deadline. I think all comments have a deadline, don't they, Ed?
Yes.
Yeah,
When is that deadline?
I think it's the end of the month.
I think so too.
Well, I guess they're already have a soft opening and they're supposed to be at full capacity early June, I believe. So,
They started testing emissions, I think, yesterday.
Yeah. And again, of course I'm concerned, but I'm also aware that, you know what, you've got a plant that's going to be fully operational. You got about 150, 180 people waiting to start jobs. And we're saying, hey, close, just the principle of it, stop everything you're doing until this is done. That I can't endorse.
well, I don't think that's on our
Right.
shoulders. That's on the DEP shoulders for not
Right.
doing their
And I
job.
wonder why they haven't done it. That's the letter says it seems. I'm going, okay, fine. That's the oversight authority. Why haven't they done it? Are they not even requiring it?
They're not doing their job?
Don't know. It could be, this doesn't clarify. The DEP could be perfectly fine with this because the change of the fuel source should lower emission. I'm going to use the wrong word, so I don't want to say it. But it doesn't specify, it doesn't say. So if I had somebody from the West Virginia Development or Department who said they're not in compliance, you know what, we're demanding this permit be revised, but I don't hear that happening.
There's not been, the strong oversight that has taken place because of watchdogs, public watchdogs. And the EPA will respond usually to strong public outcry. It's very easy for the EPA not to take action if there's no public outcry. It's been historically the behavior here in the state of West Virginia with our water and mining issues and everything. So,
I mean, you're gonna get at the root of a really unfortunate situation of the state of West Virginia is that for a very long time, the state has turned a blind eye and almost encouraged mining and all sorts of practices that are detrimental to the health and welfare of the state and the residents and the ecology in favor of economic, benefit of a few people or small companies. It's so, I don't know. It's just.
I like Jay's idea about cobbling a letter that at least addresses our concern for our water.
Well, and I think that's fine, but that's not what's on the agenda. What's on the agenda is whether or not this letter is agreed to. And I think the timeline that Ed's up against, once again, before the end of the month. So I think there's a first and a second, and the question is whether or not this body wants to vote to approve this letter, the town council endorsing this letter, I guess.
Can I please ask who made the first and second? Again, I was.
I made the motion, Barbara seconded.
Okay.
I'm not trying to curtail other discussion. I'm just wanting to remind you that this letter is the one that's on the agenda that we're voting on, not a new one.
Right. Yeah,
Well-
I have to agree with that.
Well, but we changed,
We can't change this letter. I
Yeah.
don't think.
And no, we haven't changed anything. But what we did before was we motioned to have it, to address it in the June 7th town council meeting.
Well,
Right.
the item 2B was response, which we did formulate a response, and I guess Nancy is right that this is specifically about this letter as presented.
I'd rather.
Well, I
put
think
it-
that given the way the agenda is worded and the way the motion was worded, I don't see that there's a problem with if the motion is withdrawn.
It does say in
And we
support
could-
of Jefferson County Foundation, Kevin, the agenda.
Right, but we could possibly add to it, probably not change this
Mhm.
entirely, but add to it a paragraph about a concern related to water as well. The only problem is we would have to draft that now and vote on the new addition to it, which it sounds like, we don't have time to do. And
We have two
we've
more
got to get
agenda.
this letter out pretty quickly. So
Well,
that's unfortunate. So I guess given that time constraint, we probably do need to vote on this specific letter, I guess. It's unfortunate that we don't have more time.
yeah, I share same concern with Nancy about specifically requiring the immediate stop of construction. I think it's important.
That's pretty harsh.
for the EPA to evaluate safety concerns and take appropriate actions, but
it's a violation that they're doing. And
I'd have to.
Fix it then while it's running.
I'd have to read.
Fixing it may not stop it, the plant from opening. You're just fixing it.
But coal to gas is definitely an improvement. I mean, coal is dirty.
And do we have the gas pipeline yet? Or are they going to be trucking it in?
No idea.
Look at sentence 2, paragraph 2. It seems that the WVDP, I'll read it to you. It seems that the WVDP neither required nor performed the analysis, but that statement, it seems,
I'm troubled with that.
that's not definitive. That's saying that's, I'm sorry, like I'm generally opposed to the process of how this plant has come to be, because well, it's for obvious reasons, but I don't want to sign something that is not definitive and well researched. And at least that sentence to me just it's called shoveling. There's a high school teacher who said no shoveling. You either say it is or it isn't. And if you're waffling, then you have nothing to say. And so that's just a very weak argument.
Yeah, I complete. Those are the two sentences that stop me. It seems, and we are concerned. I can't endorse asking this plant to stop and shut it down, which is what this letter says at the very end, based upon it seems and we're concerned. On facts, I can, but not on it seems and we're concerned.
If we're calling them to immediately evaluate or assess these concerns, fine, but immediately closing or stopping the plant because there's something that someone thinks or posits, but it's not definitively argued in the letter, I can't do that.
You're
Well, you
guilty.
Strike that
before-
second sentence and that begins, it seems. I still think we're concerned. I'm concerned, but
I'm concerned. So if we struck that sentence, would that work? I can't open it. I don't know. I can't see it.
Not for me, days away from a plant opening and operational and not knowing whether or not they're truly in violation of anything or not meeting emission standards of anything. I almost at this point see this as another effort to stop this plant from happening. Not a whole lot unlike years and years and years of efforts to stop a hotel from happening. So I've made my decision on this, but I'm just one person of 7.
I think it's very different than a hotel.
I would say
Sure.
the second line, instead of to immediately stop, I would say to consider the postponement and operation of.
The subject line is the problem to me. Request to take immediate action to stop construction,
Yeah.
postpone operate. I mean, it's pretty draconian. Guilty.
That would have to change.
Well, I wish we could deliberate this online and share documents and circulate, but we can't. And I don't know that we can edit this in place here tonight.
We did the other letter, Kristen's letter.
And we still have 2 more things to do tonight too.
Well,
Request immediate
this
action.
is an item on the agenda, and we did edit one letter. We have 2 or 3 suggestions for editing this one.
Well, just a point of order, we're in discussion. There is an open motion and second. So this can be voted up or down right now.
Okay.
Do I call the vote?
Roll call.
Okay, any further discussion on that? Okay, roll call vote was called for.
Could I hear the motion again, please?
The motion was to authorize the mayor or the recorder to sign a letter to the EPA in support of the Jefferson County Foundation. That's the end of what I have. Was there more to that?
No, it's what I
think it's-
originally read, but
Yeah. Okay, Barbara Humes,
Aye.
Jay Premack,
No.
Christian Petroconis,
No,
Nancy Case,
No.
Ed Wheelis,
Aye.
and I have to vote no as it's written. There are only a couple of concerns that I have, that only a couple of changes that would have to be made to this for me to agree to it, but as it is, I would say no.
Why don't we make those changes?
No, we're voting on,
We just had a vote.
we just had a vote.
I move
Yeah.
that we make, that we write the letter so that the changes that are of concern to,
I'm not right.
I move that we revise the letter with the changes that that members of the council were in opposition to.
Oh. Is there a second on that?
I didn't word it very well.
Yeah, hearing no second. Yeah, it seems there was no second to that motion. I think that the motion is I think that we would need to make the revisions before we could even proffer a motion.
Right.
I'd like to make a recommendation.
So do you withdraw your motion?
Withdrawal.
I mean, if we continue with our action, we've got 3 agenda items left, 2D, and then we're going back up to unfinished business, B and C. If there is a letter to be reviewed, can the council consider a motion at the end from Barbara if she'd like to go ahead and make edits?
We could return to this item if that's what the council would like to do.
I would be willing to do that with a cap on the discussion period for that letter not to exceed 10 minutes.
Yeah, sounds
Okay.
reasonable to me. So we're going to return to this item.
So Barbara, in the meantime, if you're willing to make revisions and present them,
I can't open it. Ed, do you have it in electronic format that you could send to me?
I believe so.
Just that?
It's in the zip drive.
I can't get the zip drive to open.
It's a scanned PDF document, though. That's the problem.
I think I have the Word doc.
so we're on to 2D if I'm not.
Yep.
Are we ready to move forward?
Ed, if you
Move.
could send that to me. Okay.
Okay. Item 2D is discussion and action to adjust 2021 elections expenses. This is my item. As you know, I'm the administrator of elections for the town. The state sets the amount of money that we pay poll workers on election day. That's a capped amount. However, the individuals that I have to hire every 2 years to come in and work with our town staff to function as early voting poll workers, that amount is set by us. And a decade ago, we set that at $10 an hour. I feel that that amount is no longer appropriate for the work that they do. They're sitting there for 8 hours a day conducting our early voting. I think that $10 an hour is pretty poor. My recommendation is to raise that to $15 an hour. But the spreadsheet that I sent you also includes a tab showing what it would cost to move it to $18 an hour. If we increase from $10 an hour to $15 an hour for the early voting poll workers, we're looking at an increase of under $500. If we move it to 18 an hour, we're looking at an increase of, what is that, $615 an hour, I think is what it comes out to.
Why would you have
Something like
$18 an hour just for the early voting period?
Well, that's something that we can discuss. What do we feel is an appropriate amount per hour for the individuals who come in and administer our early voting? the poll workers who administer our early voting.
I mean, my question is why would that be different from those who work on polling day?
Because the people who work on election day, they have to come in at 5:30 in the morning. They open the polls at 6:30 in the morning, polls close at 7:30, and they have to stay there until all of those ballots have been counted and all of their counts, including unused ballots, ballots that were cast, early ballots, absentee ballots, provisional ballots, all of those numbers have to agree. And it's a lot of work. It's about a 14-hour day in a good year. Some years it can be many more hours. Well, I don't want to say many more hours, but it can be more than that number of hours in a day. Those people really will earn the amount of money that they are paid for general election day. The early voting workers, though, don't have that same amount of responsibility. They're doing half the amount of work, half the actual amount of work that the people on general election day are doing, and at fewer hours, but they're still dedicating their time to come in and serve as poll workers. And I think $10 an hour for the job that they're doing is just not an appropriate amount.
Does it make sense to have $15? I agree about $10 an hour. Does it make sense to have $15 an hour for early voting and $18 an hour for voting for polling day?
Polling day is a set amount by the state. That's
And what
separate.
is that amount again?
$300.
Oh, okay.
What's
So
that
that's-
work out to an hour? Hang on.
Well,
And that actually is $175 for them to work on election day and $125 for their training that they have to go through. You have 4 workers on general election day, and you also have 1 alternate who is paid for training. If that person has to be called in, then they get paid the $300 for working that day as well. But that $125 accounts for the time that they have to come in to do training, which is required, and also for having to sit out their whole day waiting to be called in case they need to be called. They really can't go and do anything else that day. So the general election people, that's, like I said, that's a set amount. The state sets that amount. So what we're looking at is the hourly rate for the early voting workers, and just that.
Kevin,
I'm personally good with 15 an hour.
I think we should go there first. As we're, the topic of hourly compensation has been discussed many times and voted upon many times this year by the council for water employees. And I'm sensitive to having a rate of $18, which would exceed some of our, and this is public record, some of our full-time employees hourly for doing really hard work. We're really lucky to have people who are willing to come in and sit in the polls. We're very lucky that you're able to coordinate all of this, but I think that $15 is an appropriate increase. And in the context of what we pay some of our employees for the corporation and for the water department, 15 is appropriate.
Right. And again, my recommendation is 15 an hour. I added a tab here at 18 an hour just to show you how much that increase would be.
Okay.
My recommendation is still 15.
I'm good with that. Yeah.
And we do have that extra amount already accounted for in our budget.
Yay.
We can afford this without having to make a modification to the budget.
So I'm prepared to make a motion, but to just see motion to adjust 2021 Harpers Ferry municipal election expenses as presented would be to $15 an hour for the early voting poll workers. Right? Because you've presented 3 things here, so I have to pick one. So
It'll be 15 an hour for early voting elections workers.
okay. I motion to adjust the 2021 Harpers Ferry municipal elections expenses to $15 per hour for the early voting poll workers.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion on that then?
Nope.
Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Thank you so much. And they will be very glad to hear that, I'm sure. Early voting starts tomorrow, by the way, at 8:30 a.m. in Harpers Ferry Town Hall. And I just found out that we do not have to conduct early voting on Monday, Memorial Day, which was a concern. I had to call into the Secretary of State's office about that. The calendar that they sent to us didn't exclude Memorial Day on it. So I called the Secretary of State's office and they said that if our town hall is not open on Memorial Day, we don't conduct early voting on Memorial Day. So that's one day that we won't have to have people come in and sit there all day and not enjoy their holiday.
Okay, looks like we need to trigger Deb to go into executive session, and both of these are higher, so.
Actually, Kevin is the executive session dude. And
Oh,
I'll, sorry, didn't
We
mean to.
would remain here and
Yep.
Kevin would provide us the link to
Right.
his.
Exactly. And don't forget Chief, who's in as a
Yeah.
phone guy.
And we need him. We need him for the first item.
Yeah, so
Okay.
Chief, Chief Kevin's gonna send you an email for executive session and you'll join his Zoom call that way.
I
And if
move
y'all,
that the body go into executive session under West Virginia Code 69A4 B 2A, inviting Chief Brown to join us in executive session.
Second it. Okay.
Okay, so we'll be getting a new
Yes, email.
email.
Yeah, so. And then when we're done, we're going to come back to
This one.
this link, which will remain active on YouTube.
Yeah, who seconded that motion?
Well,
Christian.
Jay or I.
Christian
Yeah, I'll
can
take
have
it.
it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we will now be moving into executive session. It's 8:53 p.m.
Could we take about 5 minutes?
Yeah, we'll recess until 8:58 into our executive session meeting, and then following the executive session, we will be returning to open session. Okay.
Great.
Okay.
don't forget to text me when you want to come back.
Okay, sure will. Okay, are we all here? 3, 4, 5, 6. I think we are all here. So it is 9:29. We are back in open session of the town council meeting, 25 May 2021. We have a quorum. All members of the council are present other than Mayor Bishop, who was not here for the first portion of the meeting either. And we had 2 items that were discussed in executive session and 1 item that was postponed to return to before the end of the meeting. So I will
Recommend we just go through items 1, B, and C, and then come back to
The letter.
C for that 10-minute period.
Okay. Go ahead. Who would like to?
Deb, can you hear me?
You're in, Nancy.
Deb?
Yes, ma'am.
Before we can make a motion, we need to ask you to look up some information for us.
Sure.
Can you look up what the last pay was for Derek Walker before he resigned as a full-time police officer?
Yes. Do you need the, you want the hourly rate?
Yes, please.
21.29.
And Chris Hill, was it the same?
He is still employed. His rate is 22.94.
22.29. All right.
I believe that's right. Let me double check that one. I think that's right though.
I think Derek Walker was fine because this officer in essence is placing a full-time officer, which is Derek Walker.
Mhm.
Okay. So Kevin, are you ready to address agenda item 1B?
Yes, 1B was discussion and action on replacement hire for the police department.
Okay. I move to approve the hiring of Stephen Corbin as a full-time police officer with full benefits and an hourly wage of $22.29, effective immediately.
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion on that?
No.
Can you repeat that
Yeah.
motion again?
Yeah.
Motion?
I had a question. Was that dollar figure in the motion?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I thought one was 21.29. I thought Deb said.
One was Derek Walker's, which is the officer that's being replaced, the one that Chief Brown said that he would like to start his new hire at the same rate that Derek Walker left at, is $22.29, based on what Deb just said.
I thought Deb said 21.29, but I missed her.
Mr. Walker's was 21.29.
Oh, thank you.
And then you asked about Mr. Hill, which was 22.94.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
All right, thank you for catching that, because I misunderstood, so I removed my
Then you
motion.
said 22.
Ed, will you allow me to remove my motion?
I would.
Okay, I move to approve the hiring of Stephen Corbin as a full-time police officer with full benefits and an hourly wage of $21.29, effective immediately.
Before you second that, Nancy, would you consider amending your motion to include, as was discussed, 90-day probationary period? Or is that not appropriate?
I thought it was for all employees or.
Yeah, it's for all employees, so I think that
Redundant.
I
think
think
it's
that it doesn't
unnecessary.
even need to be stated.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Can I get another second, Ed?
Second, I'll second.
Okay. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
I could do the
Item-
parking one if you want.
Say that again.
I'll do the parking motion.
Okay, yeah. Item 1C, discussion and action on hiring a part-time parking attendant.
I move to hire Roberta Carey as the Harpers Ferry parking attendant, effective immediately at a wage rate of $15 an hour wage, at a maximum of 25 hours per week.
I could have sworn it was $12 an hour.
We talked about 12, but that's what we paid the past. I think they're worth more, considering they're giving up their weekends.
I'm sorry, but did we discuss upping that rate at all in?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
We
Yeah,
threw,
I
Jay threw a couple
think,
numbers
Jay
out,
argued that.
14, 15, so I picked 15. But that's my motion,
Did you say 27 hours per week?
25. Maximum
25
25 hours per week.
Do we have budgetary support for the increase from 12 to 15?
Question for Deb.
Deb,
That's not the wage that was used to calculate our fiscal 22 numbers, I don't think. But it is a seasonal position, and so if you're giving consideration to that, averaging out to be, I mean, you'll be using that person less in the winter. Is that still the case? Right?
It's probably April through October, end of October.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay, hang on a second. I'm a little bit on the spot. I anticipated your other questions. I did not anticipate this one. Hang
We're
on
looking
one
at,
sec.
if you're just looking at roughly 20 weeks of those hours, you're looking at an increase of $1,500 or $500 per dollar over 12. Yes, 20 weeks.
16.
You're gonna do a lot of walking.
By the way, was there a
Okay, so
second on
that-
that motion?
No second yet.
All right, so based on what we budgeted in the fiscal 22 budget, that equates to 16 weeks at 25 hours a week even. Does that do the job?
Yeah, so 16, that's we minus 150 minus 300. You're looking at $1,200 more for the term of that person's employment over the course of.
It would probably pay for itself, wouldn't it?
I think so, with the 50,000 figure.
Let me say that right. 416 hours, 25 hours a week. Yeah, 16 hours, 16 hours. Yeah, I got that right. 16 weeks.
Okay, point of order. There's a motion on the floor. If there is no second, we need a second before we can discuss further.
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, is there any further discussion on this item then? So the motion is to hire Roberta Carey as the Harpers Ferry parking attendant effective immediately at an hourly rate of $15 per hour for a maximum of 25 hours per week, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, the motion is approved. And item, which was the item we were returning to?
2C,
2C, correct.
I sent around a revised letter. I removed the offending sentences. And y'all I can read it, or
No, I can see it.
Well, I sent a further revision. I don't know if
Oh,
I got that.
That's what I'm looking
I
at.
got it.
Ed, what you sent to me or to us struck all of the stuff I had issues with, and it even addressed the title.
Yeah, Barbara, the only additional changes I made were to change the wording of the title.
Okay,
And in the first paragraph, you had edited it to make it sound like that the EPA should issue the PSD permit, but I think it's to ensure that the West Virginia DEP issues the PSD
oh,
permit.
okay, gotcha, yeah. Mhm, mhm.
I'm supportive of the revisions that Ed did on top of what Barbara initiated.
Yeah.
Is everybody able to see those?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm reading it right now. I think I can agree to this. Okay, is there any, what's the pleasure of the council? Is there a motion to be made or?
Ed, would you make the motion?
Yes, I move that we authorize the recorder to sign the letter to the US EPA requesting
We could just say as revised.
well, I want to say requesting assurances that the PSD permit has been issued by the WVDEP.
I second.
I have one question. And I guess somebody has done the research to determine that West Virginia DEP requires this permit, because I'm wondering why they haven't asked for it if it's required.
It is required, it's my understanding that it is required based on the fuel that you're using, based on the contaminants in the exhaust from the fuel. And that was done for coal,
Mm-hmm.
but when Rockwell changed the fuel source, which again, there's no issue that, you know, gas is preferable, but they didn't update the PSD permit based on that change in fuel.
So they could go back to coal and they would be in compliance.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that's, then they can take that decision.
I just want one more second to read this one more time. So it's not asking to shut down the operation, it's just asking that a permit be issued.
Right,
And not
Correct.
necessarily before operations that a permit be issued. Okay,
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Hearing none, the motion is approved. And that concludes the business that's on our agenda.
There's
Were
no
there any-
objection. If there's no objection, I'll motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Kevin
Okay.
and Ed, could I talk to you before you leave?
Sure.
Yeah, the letter should go on letterhead
Yes.
and,
Well, it's being requested as an email.
Oh, okay. Okay, and we'll have to put the date then up there at the top.
Mhm.
Yep.
What I would do if there, unless there's a different, unless it's not agreed to, I would print this out on letterhead, sign it and scan it and send that as an attachment to the email.
Well, I think that meets the spirit of the vote. I don't see that that's any more than a cosmetic difference.
Right. And that way it's actually signed.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Debbie, do we have anyone in the office that can do that?
Well, I can do that.
You can,
Mhm.
you'll be signing it too then, right?
Yes, I was
Yeah, I
in the
changed the
motion.
signature block to Kevin
Okay,
in my draft.
all right then.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.